Alright family, welcome back to the channel. If you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button please. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video goes up on BrainFLoTv. Man, listen, I'm not even going to use a lot of pictures in this video. I'm just going to use a couple of pictures, that's it. Because I want you to pay attention to the individuals who are involved in this story. First of all, let me say my condolences goes out to the family of the surviving members of this family. And may those who lost their lives in this situation, may their souls rest in peace. Also, may the people who hear this story actually use this story as an example to pay better attention when they're choosing a mate, to pay better attention when they're bringing someone into their lives, into their homes. For years, I've talked about women, especially single moms, who I don't know if it's desperation, if it's loneliness, if it's because brother's slinging some good dick, or if it's because somebody comes along who wants to pay the bills, or a combination of all of the above. But a lot of the times you see women who are beautiful and accomplished, and they end up with guys who you really got to shake your head and be like, there is no way that she is with him. And a lot of the times, those guys don't even contribute. So it's not like a situation where you see her and you're like, ain't no way he pulled that. But you get to find out that he got a lot of money and she's well taken care of financially. Plus he's a nice person and all that other stuff. That doesn't even come with it. And they be risking it all for some bum ass dude who in a lot of the cases ends up doing something to their children or doing something to them. So I guess my message is, before we even get into the story, is women, especially those with children, single moms, y'all got to be very careful. There are women out here who have raised their children and they never took a man into their house until their children were grown and gone. God bless those, because those are far and few. Now, a mother was executed. Her teen son was slain, executed as well. Her 8-year-old was left alone with their bodies in that house for 2 whole days. The murders of Mary Lindsay and Atif Muhammad Jr. Flowery Branch, Georgia, March 2021. It was just in 2025 and recently that the individual who did this was finally taken to court, tried, convicted, and sentenced. So just in case you're asking, okay, so why are you bringing up something that happened in 2021? Because it all came to an end in just this year and just recently in August. 39-year-old Mary Lindsay and her 15-year-old son, Atif Muhammad Jr., they were both found shot to death, and they were locked inside of a bedroom in her house, while Mary's 8-year-old son was left alone in a separate room for 2 days with his mom and his brother's body in the house. The killer was Mary's boyfriend, 29-year-old William Jerome Adams. Now I know a lot of people are like, she's 39, 40, and she with a 29-year-old dude. I don't know what you make of that. Do as you wish. So the killer was Mary's boyfriend, 29 years old, William Jerome Adams. I could cast judgment. I could say a woman who is pushing 40, who has children who are 15 years old. She has an older child as well, and a younger child who is 8. Those types of responsibilities, that type of family setup, usually a 39-year-old, a 29-year-old would not fit into that situation. So he shot both of them. And then, according to the affidavit, he stole $2,000 from Mary's bank account after he murdered her, and he fled the state, and he was attempting to sneak across the Mexican border so he could go hide out in Mexico using a fake name and no passport. The horrifying truth of this story was discovered when Mary's 19-year-old daughter, unable to reach her mother because they would text and talk on a regular basis, so her mama not answering her messages was very weird. So she popped up. Unable to reach her mother, she crawled through a window of the family's home on March 26th of 2021. And that's where her world was shattered. Her mother and her brother were dead in a room that was locked. Her 8-year-old brother was sound asleep inside the house in his own room, and he was unaware that he had been living with the bodies of his brother, his 15-year-old brother, and his mama for 2 days. I know a lot of people are going to be like, what? How was this 8-year-old unaware? I don't know. Maybe it was Friday. I don't know. Anyways, I won't even try to explain it. So investigators determined that Mary and Antife, they were murdered on March 24th, 2021. Shell casings were discovered at the scene. Prosecutors later revealed chilling evidence. 10 days before the murders happened, Antife's twin sister found a handgun in their mother's bedroom. So Antife is 15, and he's a twin. And his twin sister, obviously 15 as well. And then she has an 8-year-old, and then she has a 19-year-old. What the hell was she doing with a 29-year-old? And she's pushing 40. Anyways, 10 days before all this happened, Antife, who got killed with his mom, his twin sister found a handgun in their mother's bedroom. And she took a photo of the handgun. And when asked, Mary admitted that the gun belonged to Adam. Mary is their mama. She took a photo of the handgun and she asked the mom, Mama, who gun this is? Who's this? Who does this gun belong to? She said it belonged to her boyfriend. Now you got kids in the house, right? And he got a handgun just laying there loose in her bedroom. Not even thinking any of the kids might want to pick it up. You know, kids are super curious, especially teenagers. It's not locked away, anything. It's fully loaded and it's sitting there. The jurors were also shown a photo that Mary had emailed to herself. And it was images of her bruised up arm. Allegedly, she had been abused by her boyfriend, her 29-year-old boyfriend. He would beat on her, bruise her up, and she would take pictures of the bruises, and she would save them to her phone, mail them to herself. It was a storm that was building long before it erupted in bloodshed. So after the murders, Adam, the 29-year-old boyfriend, he fled Georgia, and he was captured the very next day in Laredo, Texas, while he was attempting to cross into Mexico. On August 1st of 2025, justice was finally delivered. Again, for those of you who are saying, okay, so the murders took place in 2021. You know how the justice system works. You had to go to court, then they sit there, held without bond, pending trial. It takes years. And then finally in 2025, August 1st of this year, justice was finally served. Adams was found guilty of 2 counts of felony murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, which means He will never come out of prison as long as he lives. He will walk out of prison, or he will be carried out of prison after he has passed away. Now, that might give some closure to the family, knowing that he's behind bars where he belongs, and he'll be there for the rest of his life. There was something put out that says the district attorney, Patsy Austin Gatson, said, "We mourn with the victims of the family and the victim's family and hope that the outcome of the trial gives them some closure and some justice." This is Gwinnett County District Attorney Patsy Austin Gatson. She was a devoted mother, and her son was a promising teenager, and a family has been shattered by violence, and a child has been left in silence among the unthinkable. That's cold. That is cold. To be so cold, to murder her and her son. You know, a lot of people are going to say, damn, at least he left the 8-year-old, because he could have killed him too. I don't know. Maybe. And I'm glad he did. But that 8-year-old is traumatized for life. For life. The message is, ladies, y'all be single moms out here. I see it all the time as a man. Single moms be the ones who, they be like desperate to have a man in their life. And not all of them, but a lot of them, you know. And then this leads to them like opening up the door for the wrong person, taking the wrong person in. And before you know it, it's back down Heartbreak Avenue all over again. Even worse, coffin or grave. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you on the next video. It's BrainFLoTv. And again, our condolences goes out to the families, surviving family members of these victims, and may their soul finally rest in peace. I'm out. Peace.